Shut up and sit down.
Hello and welcome back to this week's Tiki session from Kon-Tiki Boat Bar here in Portrush. As always, Stuart Cullen from Rawee Board Company, and behind the bar we have Ash. And just before we get started this week, I just want to say Ash's bar is now open, and it's great to have it open, Ash, finally.
Yeah, absolutely delighted. It's obviously been, for me, like 20 years in the making. I've dreamed about this, and we opened 2 weeks ago, and it's been really good. The feedback's been amazing. The sort of the numbers are coming up, and the feedback on all the drinks has been great. So I'm so delighted. So yeah, feel free to give us a shout on Facebook or call the hotel just to book your booth, guys. We are taking bookings, and you have to book your booth to get into it. So without further ado, though, I'm more excited tonight about having our guest on tonight. We've got the lovely Paula McIntyre tonight. Paula, I've made you tonight. You're for various reasons you're having a mocktail tonight, but
I'm having a mocktail.
I've made you a lovely. We make a nice non-alcoholic and no hito if you like, and it's with a bit of fresh lime, just a bit of mint, and a little bit of pineapple, just and some ginger beer to balance it out. So delighted to have you along. Thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. That's lovely.
Brilliant.
We do a bit of rum in it, but we're not.
Exactly.
We'll not fall out about that. That's
it's
okay.
Shocking me that there's no alcohol in it with Paula.
You know I like a wee drink.
Exactly. Paula, listen, it's absolutely great to have you on. We go back numerous years now, and used to be work colleagues together.
I got free.
Yes, you got free. But where I want to start with you, Paula, is you're known around the North Coast and in Northern Ireland as a celebrity chef. So what does that term mean to you?
It means nothing.
Nothing. Exactly.
Listen, I don't even know what that term. It's just, look, I would consider myself like a cook or a chef, and that's what I do. And I do a bit of radio, and I do bits and pieces in the media, and that's it. I didn't seek that out. That was an accident. A happy accident. It's been great. But first and foremost, I cook, and I love to cook. I'm not a celebrity. No, I'm not a celebrity.
Well, what I can say is Paula is probably one of the most down-to-earth people that I've
definitely
met.
Not a celebrity.
So how did you start out? Like, let's go right back to the start. How did you get that cooking bug?
I've always loved cooking, and I come from my mum was a really good cook, and would have been adventurous, really adventurous cook. And we had friends. I think when I was about 8, they moved to Edinburgh. And I remember going to a deli there called Valvona and Crawla, and eating Parma ham and eating parmesan and eating cheeses and thinking see that smell of an Italian deli, still one of my favourite smells, And I think that sort of, I can remember eating pasta, and my mum would have brought like fresh parmesan, proper parmesan. That was back probably in the 70s or 80s when parmesan came in a container, and it sat, beside the baked beans, and you opened up and it smelled like boke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always used to call it child sick whenever I was younger.
And it was just stinking, and I don't know what people were doing. Why are you putting boke in your, dehydrated vomit in your pasta? So I think that was a awakening for me. And then I loved going to restaurants. Me and my brother were the best behaved youngsters on earth, because we get threatened. If you don't behave, we'll never take you to a restaurant again. They probably wouldn't have either. So always well behaved, but I never. Biggest insult to us would have been if they brought the children's menu.
Yeah.
So it's no, So it's like, so I've always had a love of food, but I've always had a love of restaurants, and I love that when you go into a really good restaurant and it smells of stock and fresh, and not onions. So I just, what I mean? That lovely, rich,
totally.
intoxicating smell. And I love that when you go into a restaurant and, nice, sparkling, clean, waiter, and, they greet you, give you eye contact. And I think I love the whole thing when I go out for a meal. To me, it's as much about the hospitality as the food. I think we forget that,
That's it.
I'll forgive actually bad food, but I don't forgive bad service.
For me, that's a big thing for me here, Paul. And I think that hospitality, genuine old school hospitality, has gone by the wayside in the last 10 to 15 years. And that's what we've tried to do here with table service, and actually telling people what's on the drinks and the menus and whatever. But it's funny you say we were lucky enough to be at a wedding in Italy just before coronavirus hit, actually. And that smell, we went into, it was a chateau, one of our mates kindly invited us along, we made the cut. We went into this lovely room where there was like Parma ham, and it was a room full of like dried and cured meats and lovely cheeses, and the smell is unique.
Aye.
It's just incredible.
Isn't
and,
it? Yeah, just that lovely, just that sort of, you know that there's time has taken to produce that,
absolutely.
and skill, and like cheese making. This what is the you look at it, it's you curdle milk and you press it and you mature it, but the skill involved in it, and same with charcuterie. So I think that's something we're doing here now really well. I think we have a charcuterie maker up here. We don't have a cheese maker on the North Coast. Somebody needs to make cheese.
Well, that's the thing
that
we were talking about just before we got started, is that there's so much amazing produce coming out of the North Coast and Northern Ireland now in the food industry. And what would some of your favourites be coming out in Northern Ireland at the moment?
That's like asking. There's just so many. I mean, I would work quite closely with Taste Causeway, so I'm a Taste Causeway ambassador. And I love this part of the world, and I live here, and I love the produce. But I love the produce from the whole of Northern Ireland. But up here, I mean, we have like such great. Seaview Farms out in Portrush, outside Portrush, and they've got the vending machine, Chestnut Farm vending machine, and the like that family, what they're doing, the way they're producing the pork, the way their whole ethos. They're big supporters of slow food, which I'm director of in Northern Ireland. So they're all their whole ethos is about producing things slowly, regenerative farming, and then you get this piece of pork or sausage, and it's absolutely stunning. And lovely fat layer, pork that's red, it looks like steak.
Wow.
That's the way pork should look. Pork's not a white meat; it never was.
Yeah.
It's just intensive farming has caused that. So I think that they excite me because they're young and they're so enthusiastic about it, and their products are absolutely amazing. It's just I'm big friends with Leona Kane and Richard that have Brighter Gold. I think what they're doing, they've got the carrots now. Richard's
They've done
got
phenomenally well.
Yeah, they're a brilliant couple, and I just I love being around them because they're enthusiastic and they're optimistic, and they just want. Doesn't mean to say we don't have an old garden now and again, but you have to have a garden.
They're very lucky as well because of their location,
it's
and
beautiful.
Whenever you see the field in full bloom and the mountains in the background, it's stunning looking,
Yeah.
And then. So you
but
start.
So many more.
There's tons about.
Even Rawee there, the smoked salmon from North Coast Smokehouse. His smoked dulse is as good a condiment seasoning as you're going to get. I think I bring it everywhere. I used to bring that everywhere I went travelling, and I learnt very early on that if you put one of Rory's test tubes of smoked dulse in your cabin luggage, it will blow up over your smalls.
Oh, really?
Suitcase, yeah.
Do you not get pulled by security the whole time?
No, they know me now. They used to know me at the airport. That was the best thing.
That's
it was like the things but I have to wrap it up in cling film. That's my top tip for tonight.
I love the fact that you're chatting about like the young inverted commas, but like enthusiasm. And there seems to be a new wave of people coming through. The guys at Native are a really good example for me.
Oh my God, they're fantastic.
Like it's really fresh stuff. The coffee, the breads, the fresh fruit, everything. And
everything that Stevie and Rebecca touch is just perfect.
Brilliant.
And again, it's that their whole they only use sustainable fish. They care about the environment. They're young. They want to have their fish is so fresh. And what they're doing, he's a brilliant chef, and the food is just so tasty.
Stevie and Rebecca used to be my neighbours before they moved up to Coleraine, and it was really interesting because they found this big empty hole in the market for fresh seafood,
and they had the guts to do it.
And the guts to do it, and they're doing it phenomenally. And I was like, and my wife, who used to live in London and had that experience over there with food, she was like, why can't we get decent fish around here?
I know. It's like, they call it the Irish paradox.
Yeah.
That we live on an island surrounded by fish and sea, and all everybody wants is sea bass.
That's it.
And salmon, and it's all the sea bass. All the sea bass in this country is farmed in Turkey. So why would you eat sea bass when you can eat beautiful hake?
Yeah.
Or mackerel and eat seasonally. Fish is as seasonal as vegetables, and they're very acutely aware of that.
And they've just opened the new place down in Portstewart now as well, in the Crescent.
I was in it the other night. It was fantastic.
I haven't been down at it yet.
I'm so excited for them because, like, for me, it's about almost like pipe fill, for want of a better term, but like my kids are becoming much more like they know more about fish and about meat and vegetables than I did as their age. Like they're only 6 and 8 and they're talking about sustainable food. My 8-year-old is very clearly, he watched Attenborough like documentaries all the time, and he's like, is that sustainable? Is that like
that's brilliant. Honestly, that's priceless.
But that's hopefully the future, and like we've been through a bit of a strange wave of, like we've talked before we come on here about the problems with hospitality and the issues that hospitality is facing at the minute. But I think that if we can get through and weather the storm in the next wee while, we can get through to a really golden age again, hopefully, in the North Coast.
Yeah, I think produce. We're here. I think definitely we just need more restaurants like native. I think like that.
And this was one of the interesting things with COVID as well coming in, is a lot of people returned or discovered cooking.
Yeah.
And started going in and making their own food and making it with fresh ingredients, and like banana bread exploded across the whole of the UK.
I was making it today. I left these bananas. I thought, that friggin' tight acadouiness in me. I thought, I can't throw them in the bin. I have to make them.
So, what's your favourite dish to make, and what's your most hated dish to make?
Well, my favourite dish to make would be any kind of local fish.
Yeah.
I love working with lobsters and I actually like mackerel. I love cooking with mackerel. Really, I think a nice bit of fresh mackerel.
On a barbecue, usually.
I love barbecue, and I love barbecuing. That's and I can think the older I get, the more simple. But then when I'm doing a dinner for somebody and I'm charging them, I can't do simple.
Yeah.
They want they want something. They're paying me, so it has to be.
Yeah.
So lobster. I love Italy. And I love, before this I would have spent a lot of time in Italy, and I still work for a couple of Italian companies in London, which is brilliant, but it's all online now. But I love making pasta, and I just love, making a nice fresh pasta, filling it with, lobster, making a tortellini, taking the shells, making a beautiful stock. And
that was the thing for me in Italy, like just they strip it right back, and as much as like we eat pasta and pizza, it's not like over there, it's very simple. Like your
really
pizzas
simple.
will be lovely dough, lovely ragu and fresh basil, and that's it.
Yeah,
and you don't eat it like
and it's
about
the dough. It's about the it'll be a slow fermented dough, so it's really intensely tasty. The tomatoes would have been absolutely beautiful, and then and I think that's So I just anything. I love. I think the one thing for me that happened during COVID was I went back more and more to cooking, because before that I'd have been doing a demo.
Yeah.
And a demo you sort of do things, but with that it was more back to actually cooking and maybe serving, people. And I think, from my point of view, it was great. And I think what you said earlier too about people going back to cooking, and people were cooking thinking, and I think now, I think only a lot of the good restaurants will survive, because people are thinking, well, actually, I can actually make chicken goujons myself.
Well, I taught myself how to make curry from scratch instead of just buying a jar. And the first day I did it, it took me ages to prep everything and all of that. And the first night I was like, Christ, this is delicious. Why would I not do this the whole time, if you know what I mean?
But you can do that, and you can make your own naan breads, make those nice pickles, and it's like, I think everybody sort of thought, and they were thinking now, the other big thing was, right, so during lockdown, I'm thinking, make a nice bit of tortellini, and go up to Fairley's, drop £15 in a bottle of wine, have a really lovely meal. But that whole thing, now that £15 a bottle of wine, if you go out to a restaurant, that's £45.
Oh, the prices have gone insane.
But Sydney Scott's Farm Shop, during the lockdown, I mean, I went in there one day, I think it was at the end of January, and there was Italian artichokes, and I'm thinking, I was actually having like a tailspin at the back of the shop, thinking, oh my God, these are artichokes, and acadouille, and they're from Italy. And a lorry leaves Milan on a Friday night and arrives in Acadouille on a Tuesday. So you get these beautiful tomatoes from Italy. And I know I'm all about local, but look, I still think, and they do those lovely proper aubergines, and the thing about it is that you're supporting
I was about to say, you're supporting
and it's all, what's local.
But you're also supporting Scots, and you're not going to the malts like Tesco, Sainsbury has nothing against them. But
exactly, you're supporting a local family. And the thing about Scots is, you go into that's like something you would see in the south of England.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
without
go
a
in,
doubt.
it's got that nice jazzy music on. You can get yourself a nice coffee. You know, when you're walking, I think it's absolutely amazing place. I think what they're doing out there, and plus they're supporting so many local producers
Yeah,
as well, because all the
that's it.
stuff. And I think that's the thing too. I support local, but I love Italian olive oil. I love proper balsamic vinegar, and I love that kind of thing. And that's the thing. I think we need to have this balance. You can't be totally insular
Well,
either.
this is what we've been saying before, is it's not about being 100% perfect and
No.
going, everything I'm going to get is from local suppliers.
no.
It's about supporting local suppliers, but, you know, there's always other things
Right.
as well. So what's your most hated dish to make? Or one that you're like, if somebody asks you to make, or you have to do it
Okay.
for a demo, you're like, oh God.
Well, the only now, and I'm not going to say it, but you know, if somebody says to me they're vegan or
Yeah.
they're lactose intolerant, and I spend a lot of time, there's no hassle with that. I spend a lot of time doing something for my best friend is actually a vegan, believe it or not.
How often do you feed her meat?
No, never.
Never.
She's a very good friend. So I don't, but I actually like, I like experimenting with things, and if she comes for dinner, it's, so I think that's the. So I don't, but when you see you do something and you make a lot of effort, and lactose intolerance another one, and then they turn around and they say, oh no, it'd be all right if you put a bit of milk in it, and then you're not lactose intolerant, or you're not.
It's just out of choice, it's not a...
One of them, the vegan things, so I'll just have the fish, and I'm like, well then you're a pescatarian, you're not vegan. So apart from that, no, I don't really mind. Look, the thing about it is, if I'm not happy about cooking something, like I'm a strong enough woman, I'm not going to do it.
Yes, you are.
Do you ever get fed up cooking yourself though, Paula? Do you like...
Very rarely.
Right,
and
okay.
maybe sometimes it's full on, and it's just, I'm just a wee bit exhausted,
Yeah.
And do you do all
generally.
the cooking at home then?
I cook, yes,
I think that's the thing for me, like
But I cook
sometimes...
for a lot of people. Like
Yeah.
I live, my neighbours are all a wee bit older.
Yeah.
Do a few. My parents, that's like.
There you go, Ash, you should have bought down near Paula.
I should have.
The thing for me is, like, if I'm making cocktails all night and then I go home with my wife, sorry Hannah, can I get a wee margarita? And you're like, I'm not. Go and get yourself a bottle of wine or a glass of wine.
So that's the thing. Yeah, I think there would be a bit of that, and especially if I'm cooking, it would be, and also, I think sometimes you just want something nice and simple, don't you?
Yeah,
A plate of
that's it.
spuds, plate of spuds and butter or something.
The beauty of the last sort of years, like there's been some really cool wee pop-ups, like Butterfly and Bear comes to mind, and
we
all the
used to
stuff
have
they're
that.
doing, like it's great, and that people have been able to innovate. Coronavirus has been horrible in so many ways, but there's been a load of people.
But that was a nice thing, that Daniel doing that was great, and that was something different. I mean, come into the house, stick it in the oven, and it was being out, and somebody else was cooking, and everything had these really delicious flavours, and I think that's the thing.
And they only did a certain amount of covers every weekend, I think it was, and it was really hard at one stage to actually be able to get anything, because they released it at a certain time, and 5 minutes later it was all gone.
Because I think there was only so much capacity they could do. So
That's it, yeah.
So no. Yeah, I think that's the thing. It hasn't been a total disaster.
No, I know.
For me, personally, my life has changed completely. Because in 2019, I was on 60 flights, most of them with work.
I remember, like, whenever we worked together, I'd be talking to Paula on a Wednesday, I think it was, you were in or whatever, and then, like, on a Thursday lunchtime, you'd be on Facebook and Paula would be up in the Italian mountains. I'm like, and then on the Friday, she'd be back in the college, like, and as if she'd just gone to Ballymena or something, like, So you're on 60 flights.
I was, and a lot of those would have been, I would have been working that year. For 5 years, I've been doing the Food and Farming Awards with the food programme, and that would involve flying to London and then flying to visit the 3 finalists. And that was a brilliant experience, that was fantastic. I think I did that for 4 years, and I got to judge with people like my heroes, like Giorgio Locatelli. The first year, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was sitting on a tube with Giorgio, and took me back to his restaurant and cooked me lunch. And I'm thinking, this is surreal.
Brilliant.
And Angela Hartnett, judged with Angela one year, and she's absolutely fantastic. So it's like, you sort of think, and I also do the kitchen cabinet on Radio 4 as well. So that meant going to, and you'd be sitting there, and there was one night I was sitting on the stage and the theatre in Cromer on the pier, and I thought, when would this ever have happened?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Doing things like that, and that's like, which just the experiences I've had have just been unbelievable. And it's like, I think the cooking has opened up that door for me, because I went into cooking to cook and
Yeah.
sit in a restaurant or sit in a kitchen and never come out of it. But I've had a career really in this past sort of 20 years has been really just talking about food, cooking in front of people, cooking for people, writing about food, which is great, and broadcasting. And
How do you find the radio side of things? Because I know you do a lot of stuff on radio as well, and do you approach cooking on radio differently, or are you're obviously not in a kitchen when you're doing that? Are you on a couple of gas stoves?
At the moment I'm doing it from my own kitchen.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but up in the studio it would have been in a couple of butane stoves. The thing about the cooking on the radio is you have to paint a picture, and you have to describe it that people can actually see it.
Tough.
And I think with TV, you just watch TV and that's it. There it is. Whereas in radio, you really have to work harder at it. So anytime that I've done TV, it's been easier because you can just say, well, there, But I do radio would be my first love. I love radio. I've loved doing Radio Ulster, and I've been lucky that I've been doing some stuff with the food programme and with with the kitchen cabinet. It's just been fantastic, and it's and be able to sort of go and be the sort of Northern Ireland representative too, which is always good, because, and it's nice, because a couple of weeks ago the Guardian called me and said, would you recommend somewhere on the north coast, for fish? And I obviously said native, and then so then they get a full page.
That was a great write-up that they got.
And it was brilliant, and they did Stevie's beautiful place dish, and and I think that's the thing that's good, that I can introduce people to each other, and also to to promote other people. It's not just about the food, it's about the people.
Exactly.
And it's about the region, and it's about and everything that we have up here. I mean, we're actually living the dream up here.
That's class. We've talked about it a lot, actually.
Aren't we? Like, I live in Portrush, you live in Portrush. I can't. I remember when I first moved up here, and I'd always had this idea that I would retire to coastal Maine, and I was walking up the beach thinking, what in the name of God would I move to Maine for? I don't even know anybody in Maine.
We've talked to people that, like Hannah, that's lived in Hawaii, Morocco, Brazil. Pete Stewart, that's lived in California, LA. People from all that have lived in some amazing places all over the world, and they all come back here.
Aye.
And we talk about this in nearly every tiki session, that the North Coast just has this magnetic pull, and there is something amazingly special about the North Coast. Now, our weather's crap 90% of the time, but it's not about that. It's the people,
even when
it's
it's
the place.
crap, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, even you get on a day there where the sea's black, and it's like, and we all swim in the sea. And there was a time, remember the snow was there in February, and I thought, I'm not going to give up the swimming just for that.
Good on you.
And you're like in the sea, snow's beating down your head, and I'm like, I was like actually lying back thinking, this is fantastic. The snow's in my face.
It's living, isn't it?
That's what it's like, and you can, like, nothing will make you feel more alive than lying with your back in the sea in January or February with the snow pelting down your face.
Well, we
then where you're at.
Exactly. We had a barbecue on Sunday, and obviously the tiki sessions are pre-recorded. But we had a barbecue on Sunday, and there was that torrential rain and thunderstorm that the famous Portrush hole opened up in the promenade, which I've never seen more photographs of a road in my life. But I have a veranda that runs the whole length of the back of my house, and we were all sat out there, and that was the heaviest rain I've seen in years. And we were sat there just watching it and listening to it, and then afterwards the smells of nature and the grass and the trees and all, just phenomenal. And I was going, Portrush's great. Even in the worst weather possible, it's just amazing, the North Coast.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think for me, the people in this area, and we've talked about it before, and the fact that we've talked a lot about egos and stuff like that, and the fact that you won't even consider yourself as a celebrity chef,
but
it's your ego.
If I went into if I was sitting with any of my friends or anybody in my family, and I said I'm a celebrity chef,
and that's the great thing about Northern Ireland and the North Coast, is your
that's
mates will be like, catch a grip of yourself.
It's so
you're
funny.
You're not a celebrity, you're a dick.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
The first night I properly met you, albeit virtually, was about this time last year, where I was doing some work for Symphonia Gin, which is an awesome gin in County Armagh.
Beautiful gin.
And I was really, really nervous because it was a meet the buyer, it was an invest NI thing, and I was told that the buyer from Harrods was there, the buyer from Sainsbury's, Tesco.
That kind of thing makes me nervous.
I was more nervous because when we clocked in, you were sitting, I seen Paula McIntyre was coming, I was like, oh Jesus, this is Paula's going to be here. And I was more nervous about you being on. So I was doing like a pitch on Symphonia and talking about how good it is, and they do this lovely apple rum, and they do an apple gin as well. So I was making some serves with it, but having you on for me was a big thing, genuinely.
Gosh, right, no, it's Rawee.
Not anymore. It's not anymore.
No, not after
There's
tonight.
Paula outside again. You know. So Paula, junk food. Is there a place for it? Like, would we ever catch you sitting for 20 minutes in the queue outside McDonald's?
No, you wouldn't have. 100% not.
Not.
100% not. Well,
Ever eat a pot noodle?
I think I had one once to see what it was like.
And that was the last time.
And I didn't understand it because I put too much water into it.
Soup.
Yeah, no, junk food. Yeah, all right. There is a place. I think the only thing is, I think it's become, if it was just a treat, but I think what's happening is it's just a norm, and it's not. Look, everybody likes a wee bit of dirty burger now and again, but I think you have to remember if you're feeding your children McDonald's or any other obviously
Brand.
dung heaps exist, you're actually slowly poisoning your children. So the thing about it is, I think if you're going to do that all the time, that's just not a good thing. Look, we all like a bit of a burger, but you can have a really good burger. You can have a good burger. You can have good bread. You can make it a burger good. I would love to see it be more sort of healthy, not healthy, but just more real and not this whole synthetic, nonsense.
See, I'm a scout leader as well as everything else I do, and pre-COVID every year we'd take the scouts away for a week camping or whatever, and I always on the Saturday night do a burger night for the leaders, and we get really nice proper meat burgers in and make it all up, and it's 10 times better than anything you'll get anywhere, and it's super easy to make. And people talk about junk food as convenience food, but it's not. It's so easy. And I think people are scared of cooking sometimes because they're like, oh, it's really complicated. And for me, cooking's two things: it's timing and it's measuring, and then it's a bit of throwing whatever else in yourself and a bit of experimenting.
And I think a lot of it's shopping, because if you can go to, you go back to Scott's Farm Shop again, they get Hannon meats from Moira, which is sought after all throughout the UK and Ireland, and they also do Buchanan's meat, which is a farm shop up in Upper Lands. And those burgers are both those burgers are fabulous. Yeah. And they're really meaty and tasty, and you fry them and it smells good, and the sugar caramelizes in them because they've been aged well, and they're just so tasty. And I think that's the thing. Whereas if you get a burger out of at McDonald's, it's just this flaccid piece of flop,
Rubber.
And it doesn't taste of anything.
For me, there's so many factors involved, but the sort of high street, the demise of the high street. I remember going down Portrush Prom with my nana and grandpa, going to the greengrocers, going to the butchers, and they're gone. Like Aston Tesco.
There was Richard Kon-Tiki
at the harbour.
At the harbour, yeah.
I remember that, and it was like, and that's the thing. And I think
the likes of Stevie and Rebecca bringing that sort of thing back.
They're going to bring in a fishmongers down there, and they've got a big fridge, display fridge coming.
Brilliant.
So you can actually see your monkfish and see, and that's I would love to see that.
The unfortunate thing is, you look at the salad bowl in Portrush, which is the only one I can think of recently that has been in this area. There's nowhere you can go for greengrocers.
There's what do you call them out in Bushmills?
Glasses.
Glasses.
But it's an institution. Glasses is fabulous.
That's it.
If Glasses closed, I think I would probably cry for about a week.
But I'm sure it's not easy for them because everyone's going to Tesco, Sainsbury's,
whenever you can get your 3 peppers for 25p or whatever. But one of my favourite newspaper articles is hung up in the wall in Glasses, and it was the owner or his father years ago got stopped by the police in his car, and the heating had broken in his car, so he had a gas super searer in the front seat turned on while driving to warm the car, and they've got the newspaper article about him being stopped by the cops.
Super searer.
Super searer letting the car to keep him warm.
I gotta get, when you come out swimming in the winter and you have super searer.
That'd be good.
So obviously you did a lot of travelling before COVID or the pandemic, but I noticed you sort of stepped into something maybe new for you during lockdown, and that was theatrical online. Now, I didn't take part in it, but I did
No.
watch the 2 adverts for it, and it seemed like really fun. Can you tell us what that was about?
Well, it was big telly, so
Yeah,
I know Zoe
Zoe,
quite well.
yeah.
Yeah, Zoe Seaton, and Zoe's phenomenal. She's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. So rather than them crying and into their their tea, they did so much online stuff. So many theatre productions, and apart from anything, that was giving actors employment.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing. It was a service. But anyway, we did this thing, and it was called Recipe for Disaster. So it was an 80s wedding, 80s themed wedding, cook along,
Online.
and a disco in
Brilliant.
an hour.
Class, very good.
And there was cocktails. There was, I think it was a pina colada. We did a couple actually. The one we did a baked Alaska. Like it was like, you see, watching people, you think, oh my god.
And people could pay to then join in.
It was a tenner a device, I think.
Yeah.
But you see the amount of feedback because it was all their ladies' music and
Pina colada
everybody
and
was
baked Alaska,
dancing.
you can't get more than the 80s than
Aye,
that.
and we did a
Brilliant.
prawn
Just firing
cocktail
a
and one.
chicken
We
in the
did
basket with
I
it.
did chicken in a basket, but no, I think we probably maybe, I've spoke to Zoe there, and I think we maybe hopefully do something again, because I think we did 6
Brilliant.
performances of it, and we did actually as well as that, an online St. Patrick's
Brilliant.
food festival,
Yeah.
where it was just different people were brought in, and I did a bit of cooking and they did, and it was all performance pieces. It was brilliant. See, that wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for COVID.
And,
and it's like,
there were so many people, like, if you owned Zoom,
yeah.
you'd be like, COVID's the best thing that's ever
Yeah,
happened. Because
well,
obviously
exactly.
Zoom was a known company beforehand, but COVID probably has been the best thing that's ever happened to them. But, all these interactions, and even if you remember back at the start of the pandemic, the amount of people that started doing table quizzes with their families and friends and stuff like that, and online drinks, and that technology was great, and I think that will stick with us for a while, if you know what I mean. But
You don't need to take a flight now to have a meeting.
no.
I mean, I'm doing training at the minute all around Ireland, the whole way, and to try and organise a training session in Wexford, Tipperary, Dublin, all of a sudden everyone's in a room together,
I know.
albeit a virtual room, but it's just incredible. And you do lose a wee bit of that sort of reading body language and whatever, but I think everybody's used to it by now. So
I think that we've been doing this, and you were involved with Symphonia. I've been doing a lot of Zoom things with Invest NI for buyers. If I'd gone to a room in London to do that demo, you maybe had a few people turned up, and that would have been fine. But what they're doing, we're doing it on a Friday afternoon, and they're getting a box of Northern Ireland produce. There's always a wee gin or tonic or drinks or something like that. And there's interviews. I do a bit of cooking, interview the producers, and they've gone down really well. I think, and everybody turns up for them. You sort of see a massive screen of people.
even if they're in their pyjamas.
Well,
Well,
if you
it
sent me
doesn't
an email and says, I'm going to send you food and gin for a Friday afternoon, but you have to log on here for an hour, I'd be like, yeah, no
But
worries.
what it's like, and for them it's work, but the idea was, you pour yourself a gin and tonic, so the end of the week, it's the end of the working week, and you can have a, and it is good, and then that's the thing, I think it's like, it encouraged more investment, and it let people know, let all the supermarkets and all the buyers know that Northern Ireland was still open, people are still producing things, and only good could come out of that, and I think it's been a really good thing.
And have you ever thought about opening your own place?
No.
No. See how quick she answered that?
I did have a
genuine.
restaurant in Manchester in the 90s, and I got away, unscathed slightly.
You got out all right.
But I would never open a restaurant before, because I'm a wee bit of a control freak, and I like to be in complete and utter control of everything, and then I know that it's, if something goes wrong, it's me.
on you, yeah.
So what the only concession I've probably made, Tanya and Thomas and Arcadia.
Yeah.
So last year I did a couple of supper clubs there, but I called it Cook and the Farmer. So it was like I did one with Seaview Farms. I did another one. I did one with it was actually an Italian Christmas. I had a whole range lined up that was going to do one Cook and the Fisherman with the Causeway Lass, with Richard and Leona, with a load, all sold out, and I got to do 3. And that's the only concession I would make. And then I did all the, I was able to do the cooking. It was smallish enough number, it was under 30. So no, I wouldn't open a restaurant. I think I have in this past year, I've had grown men ringing me up crying, because there are no staff, they can't get chefs, they're paying people through the nose to stand and fry chips. And I think that's, you know, and I wouldn't do it because I would just, you know.
The hospitality
Plus I'm
industry.
too old, Stuart. Dear
too old.
God, I'm
But
open
like,
a restaurant.
like I mean, obviously you've worked in the catering college, and you would be like, it would be a real loss if you weren't able to impart your wisdom and knowledge to the youngsters of today. And it kind of
Stop doing that.
No, but even like the likes of this, like it's just getting, and it's a real difficult situation at the minute because hospitality is on its knees, obviously. But it's about trying to inspire people to say, come into the hospitality industry and treat it as a career, but also customers need to treat people in hospitality a little bit better and maybe treat it as, and certainly in Northern Ireland.
I think too, that maybe, like we've worked, I don't know about you, Stuart, I've worked in hospitality all my life.
So I was a waiter for a couple of years.
But I think if you have, even if you've done that, you have a respect for people,
because
it's it is hard, and you have to be switched on. I think, I think with there needs to be a lot of respect. Look, I've been out in company with people who've been rude to the waiters. That's the last time I'll have any contact with them.
Yeah.
Because it's a measure of the person. If you're rude to waiting staff or to bar staff, then you know that's a personality defect. You know. Whereas, but I do think that now I think we need to have more respect. You know, because you know what you do, Ashley, there, make beautiful drinks. You know, it's all about the products in them. It's about, you know, you're thinking about different flavour balances and combinations, and it's, you know, nearly like being an alchemist. And, you know, that's a skill. And I respect that. And I think there needs to be more of that. There's respect. And when somebody's doing the best too, when they're buying really good drinks, you know, this one here, and you know, and you're putting that passion into it. And I think there needs to be respect. And I think, you know, anybody that fixes drinks, I love watching it anyway. It's
a real art form. I'm not saying I do it, but I witnessed like a lot of, I've been really lucky to work with some brilliant bartenders and watching them as an art form. The problem is that we need to make sure that the customers appreciate that. And it's like, it's a
But you do that really well, because like I was here opening weekend and we're over in the booth over there. There's 6 of us or whatever. And you came over and you talked us through every single ingredient in the drink.
Yeah.
And the thing that really came across was you were genuinely passionate about what you had created.
But it's weird, man.
And that really came across, and that to us created a really good experience.
When I walked in here tonight, and I'm just looking at your raw drinks there, and that's all quality stuff. Like, that's brilliant stuff.
For me, simplicity is the best. Like, if we're using premium products and fresh produce, it's really simple. For me, it's the hospitality element that is the big thing for me, and making people feel welcome, making people feel comfortable trying new experiences, new flavours, and actually, you know, really taking them on a bit of a journey, and without sounding too cliched, making them have a really good night, and it's something different.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. I had a great night. Sunday morning was a bit ropey, but I had a great Saturday night. So
but every time you go into an establishment, you should be having a great night.
Totally.
And half the time, you go into places and they ignore you. And that's not a good start. No. And it's like, you know, there's no upselling, it's just throwing the food at you, I think there needs to be more, getting back to, remember why it's called hospitality, because you have to be hospitable. And you know,
I was a bit of a jerk to Ashley on opening night, because he came over and he took, and we've been doing a load of work together over the last 6 months, and he took our orders and he welcomed us, and brilliant. And as soon as he turned his back to walk away, I hit start on my
unbeknown to me,
unbeknown to him, on my stopwatch on my phone, because I wanted to know.
Imagine a mate doing that.
I wanted to know, because to me it was, because there's various sittings in here. I wanted to know how well Ash and the staff can put together drinks for 30 people, starting all at the same time. And he came back over, and I just went like that and held up the phone. 43 seconds later, he had my beer with me, and I was going, that's, and he had just 30 or 40 people that just walked through the door, and every table was the same, and I was just like, and he had the time to stand and talk to us, and can I get you anything else? And the staff came across, and Hannah came across, and the hospitality was different than whenever pre-COVID would be stood in a bar on the North Coast, and the bar would be busy, and every person around me would be getting served, and I'd literally be shouting at a bar person going, can I get a drink? Can I get, just walking past, you know.
And like we talked about this previously, you would almost give people a bye ball if the food or drink isn't really on par, but the hospitality's there. And for me, that's the thing for me, making sure you nail the basics, and that's nice to hear.
You just want to go out and have a nice night. You don't want any
no hassle,
no hassle.
Yeah,
it's nice. Just somebody like even if they're putting it on,
Somebody
making
look
out
after
that
you.
they're glad to see you.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
that,
me,
yeah, it's
that's
not
me,
right.
Paul.
Yeah.
So just before we finish up then, Paula, you mentioned earlier, whenever we were chatting, that you're into sea swimming.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
you know, we've talked a lot about food and alcohol, which is my hobby, but Ash's business. But sort of outdoor sports and sea swimming is sort of my business now, or part of my business now. So how did you get into it and why do you do it?
I got into it a couple of years ago. A friend of mine was into it, and we went down. There were 3 of us at that stage, and the first time I did it, I just thought, oh, this is amazing. Like, it was December, so I started in December. So I got into it, and then, you know, just for really just to, you know, bit of, I don't know, to de-stress.
It's a phenomenal
You know,
way
I
of
think
de-stressing.
that's the thing. You know, that we all have all of things going on, and when you're in the sea, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no trouble. You know, because you're actually at one with nature, and it's a bit of it's about survival, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
The sea
is
can be a
dangerous.
powerful place, yeah.
The sea is dangerous. I have a very healthy respect for it, and I don't put myself into any situations that would be, you know, that would be dangerous. But I think that's the thing that there is that element to it, and then that you can go in and it's icy cold. To me, it's just icy cold all year round. Now.
That's it,
You know what I'm saying? And then that feeling when you get out, where your blood's pumping.
And then you get that burning feeling in your skin when you get out, like that
know.
scorched
I
feeling.
actually
It's
really
class.
like it when we talked earlier when there's snow when there's a wee bit of snow in the sand.
Aye.
You know, and the water's relatively warm because
Well,
the air
aye,
temperature's
that's it,
kind of.
that's
Well,
So
the water doesn't actually change that
Doesn't
much.
change
It's
so
the wind
much, sure it
temperature and the air
doesn't.
temperature, you
Aye.
know.
And I think that, you know, but we're all geared up for it. I know everybody takes the hand out of the dry robes, but like, they're brilliant.
The dry robes
I
are
love
a
a dry robe.
constant in the
They need to
tiki
be
sessions.
sponsored by us.
Every tiki
I love
session
a
we
dry
have is
robe.
about the dry robes.
Well, you're
So
gonna
I've
have a
got a wee
super
hot
share
water
beside it,
bottle. I've got a wee hot water
you
bottle.
need to have your
one for
super
my-
share down on the beach
Oh, my
with
super
you.
Yeah, that'd
share,
be-
why?
So what's the future hold for you then? Or what do you hope the future holds for you back to Italy?
I'd love to get back to Italy, yeah.
Where do you go in Italy, by the way?
I'll
Sorry.
go all round. I would do Turin's one of the places that I would go with slow food, and then the company I work with, they're at the Emilia Romagna, so, you know, Modena, Parma, Bologna, and then I go to the Morelli's place, which is up in Castellatico. So it's a beautiful wee village, and it's nice because I know a few people there now,
Yeah.
and it's like so.
And can you speak Italian?
No,
No.
just odds and ends of it.
Buongiorno and
That's it.
prego,
Yeah. And I hope I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. You know, I'm not really madly ambitious person. You know, I've got a book coming out in the autumn, and
Jesus,
it's
just
about.
drop that in, Paul.
and it's
Did you
about-
write that yourself?
I did. That's
Did
my
you?
third book.
And is it
My
a cookery
third
book or is it your autobiography?
It's not. It's a Taste Causeway book. So
Right,
it's about
okay.
all of the. And it
Brilliant.
started off last year. I think we reckon we'd have about 20 chapters. You know, 20. So it features, you know, chefs. So there's producers. So, you know, for example, Licata,
Yeah.
Trudy Brawley. Like Ocho's is a great place.
Yeah, Ocho's is great. They've
brilliant.
just moved to Portrush
Yeah,
recently.
yeah, which is handy. Yeah, you know, Stevie and Rebecca. So just, you know, Leona, Richard, and so I'm up to 36 now. So it's stopped now. So it's going to print. The deadline was Monday. Still chasing up a couple of stragglers.
You couldn't get 37th in for a bartender, no?
30.
It's like Britannica.
You have to be a member to his Causeway.
Oh, right. Oh,
I'm not
okay.
doing any more. No, I'm not doing any more. Because that's what I was, can you just put this in? And it's like, so that's coming out on the 1st of October. And I've got something else happening in the autumn, but I can't mention it yet. But that's probably one of the most exciting things I've ever done in my life. And completely surprising. And
You're opening a tiki bar in
I'm
Portrush,
opening a tiki bar in
Yeah, that's
Portrush.
it. Look at Ash's face.
Nope.
Well, listen, Paula, I've known you for a lot of years, and I can honestly say you are labelled as a celebrity. See that pregnant pause there? To wonder what adjective I'm going to use. Yeah, you're labelled in the press and all as a celebrity chef, but you are one of the most down-to-earth, straight-speaking people I know.
I'm a straight speaker, yes.
You really are, and I've worked on cookery demos with you before, and I've been like in tears laughing.
We've had I think that's look. At the end of the day, you need to enjoy life.
Totally.
But when I'm doing a demo, it's not going to be straight up.
Yeah.
So you have. I think you're there to same as yourself.
Yeah.
You have to entertain. Like you have to entertain, and you want people to go away. For me, they come to demo and they come up at the end. A lot of people come up at the end and they'll say to me, "Look, wasn't really watching what you were cooking. I don't really cook, but that was just a good night's crack."
It
And
was,
that's
it was
then
brilliant.
I know that's all I want.
I did one with you in Bangor.
That's right.
And it was like,
They had a great supper that night,
oh,
Stuart.
brilliant supper.
I always remember. I always judge faces the supper.
Paul, I just remember Paula was talking about, I like to cook healthy and stuff like this, and then literally a litre of double cream and a load of sugar in and stuff, and the banter was brilliant, and you're a hell of a presenter as well, so you are, and like you say, with the radio and stuff, that you have to, use your descriptions and words to bring that visually to the people at home. You do it absolutely perfectly. So, from me, and especially from Ash as well,
Lovely
because I
to
know
see you,
Ash
lovely
has been
to
wanting to have you
meet you in
meet
reality.
you properly.
Meet
Yeah,
you in reality.
thank
yeah.
you so much for coming on. And
Ash and I are going to do things together, now.
well,
I'm
that's,
so
between,
glad.
that's between you and
Not
Ash
sexy
afterwards.
things,
like,
no.
Don't tell Hannah, it's not for her.
But listen, whatever you do together, make sure I'm invited, because it'll be great.
Right. Thank
Paula,
you. Thanks
very much.
Thanks.
Thank you
nice
so much.
Cocktail. You see, next time
Better
I'll
run.
be coming back here. No, I'll come for something like that.
Oh,
Nice bit of
Sexton.
Sexton,
A
lovely.
bit of Sexton. That's a revelation. That's
you like
one
that?
of the nicest things I've tasted in a long time.
Brilliant.
Delighted to have you along.
Burley's tomorrow.
Exactly. Cheers, Paula. Thanks very
a
much.
million.
Thank you.
Thanks
Cheers.
so much. Thank you.